you've got about 1 second. That's all your prospect's going to give you before deciding whether to hit reply or delete. So today we're going to break down what it actually matters in that brutal first glance, reply or trash. Jeremy, let's get into it.
Yeah, in reality, people would love to think they got 7 seconds, but 1 second is
That's
all it
true.
takes.
In fact, it's less than a second. Cognitive psychology. Fun fact, Jeremy, I studied cognitive psychology as a minor in my undergrad. Humans begin forming judgments in 50 to 100 milliseconds, which is, what is that, like 100 milliseconds is a tenth of a second?
Yep, that's I mean yeah,
Like that.
that's pretty like boom, like you have no time, right? So
There
that's
you
gonna
go.
be
So,
interesting.
so the brain processes visual and structural cues like layout, paragraph length, subject line in that time frame.
Yep.
So that's what we're up against, and you need to nail that 100 millisecond test, or what are we going to call it? Like a 1 second test?
I like the 1 second test because sometimes people sort of like they double check themselves. They want to check like, oh, did that right or one? Like last time, like today actually, I almost like flagged someone as spam straight away, but then I, I, I caught myself, reread it, and it's like, oh no, it's actually like a potential client. But the email looked like spam, so it's like, oh yeah. But the guys was asking for a demo, and it's like, oh okay,
There you
well,
go.
got it
Did they
wrong
use
here.
bullet points? Did they use bold
No,
and italics? Yeah.
it's actually the signature was really long, kind of thing, and I'm like, oh okay, that's one of those like BDR whatever, trying to just like reach out to me.
Hook
But
in a subject line.
but
Let's
then
not do that. All right.
they mention other things. But you're right. Let's focus on the first second.
Let's
So
dive.
what do you got?
All right. And speaking of first second, why don't you throw that famous 10-minute timer? We'll see if we can keep to it
Let's
here.
do it.
All right. So within the first second, I'm going to say that the silent killer is the length of your email. If
Ooh.
if your message is too long, I know I do this when I'm looking through. If I don't know who sent it and it feels like a book to read, I'm on to the next thing. I'll deal with it later.
You sure about that? Like, I mean, this is giving me a hint, but I wouldn't make my decision or my judgment just purely on the length of things.
No, nor would I, but that's one out of three things that are part of the equation to
Okay, okay.
trash it or consider it carefully. What
All
about
right.
you? What's first on your list?
So the first thing that is on my list, you're gonna laugh. It's actually people using email as name. So, instead of saying Jeremy, like when you receive the email, instead of saying, like you got the avatar. So obviously my eyes goes to the avatar and the name.
Okay.
So if you don't have a picture on the avatar, that's already like a bad sign to me. It's like, ooh, that's like a spam is
Mm,
coming. But the one that tells it like 100% of the time, because it never happens when you set up the inbox yourself, is and send the emails, is having your email as the name being displayed. So instead
interesting.
of like being, Jeremy, it'll just be like Jeremy at tryquickmail.com. It's like, okay, dude, like
Got it.
you're not a human. You're just like automation,
Right. So
and it's badly
basically
set
the
up automation. It's
the
like
lazy way to set it up, that's a tell, right?
it's like the people using the template in the past and fucking it up. So they had like colon colon first name and something. To me, it looks the same, right? It's like people
I
just
love that.
they screwed up their setup of their inbox. It's clearly going to be a
Smart.
cold outreach.
There you
Anyway.
go. Okay. So make sure your avatar image and your name makes sense. It's simple, but the devil's in the
They get it
details, right?
wrong. They get it wrong. That's
There
crazy.
you go.
What about you? What's your second
All right.
point?
The second thing is that first sentence. And I'm asking the question, is this for me? Right? Is this message really for me? Or can I read that first sentence and understand that this was just sent out to business owners in the US with, 1 to 10 employees and a live website using WordPress? You know what I mean? Like um, it should be answered really quickly. Is this for me? And that's what I'm going to say. That first sentence, I can glance at it in half a second and know, like, yeah, this is not really
Yeah,
for Jack.
that smells. You
Mm-hmm.
could even actually get it with a first name if it starts with dear. Dear sir or dear whatever. It's just like okay.
Right. Which, by the way, we've talked about how dear is a spam word now.
That's right. That's a rule. That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
But I would double check still if I see there because it could be an official document, which is annoying. But you gotta check for those
Probably,
two.
yeah. Trying to think if that's a European form. I don't think I would be dear even if it was from the state, trying to get my attention. All right, let's
Fair
move
enough.
on. I got one more thing. I think you got one more thing too. So I was tempted to put in the PS because I'm going to scan straight down to it, but
Ooh.
instead I'm just going to say like my eyes go straight down to the ask. What's the bottom line? What do I need to do here? Okay, so if I look and there's a demo request for some, I know that it's back burner kind of thing, right? Now I'm going to put the call to action as like my third step because going down to it, if it smells like I don't know you, this may or may not be targeted, and I'm going to ask quite a bit from you. Boom, deals off, and it's going to be very hard to bring me back in.
That's fair. That's fair.
Mm,
So I'm like you. I look very quickly at the beginning, very quickly at the end. So the beginning to me, does he actually start with the flattery stuff? So that's a little bit more involved. It's like, hey, big fan of the show, whatever. I'm like already like, yeah, uh, I don't like those things. And those
yeah,
things are very easy to change because if you actually change that flattery line into a PS right away, then it becomes like way more acceptable. It's just like, it's an afterthought. And when I see
mm,
it in a PS, I will read your PS. So it's kind of
right.
like, kind of twisted, but instead of reading the first line, I'll read
Interesting.
the PS. So that's pretty cool. So read it
Yep.
at a PS and avoid like massive signatures as well. But I do have a caveat. So massive
Mm,
signature already like mentioned, like this is corporate email, like this is BDR, whatever, like corporate, like I'm not
mm,
interested in conversation at all.
mm.
But the caveat to this one is putting a link of YouTube because then it will give a thumbnail and visual
Right.
cues straight away. You look at it and you're curious. So your thumbnail is actually pretty supporting your sort of message in one way. That could be fun. I think it's too small to have a question on it, but it'd be fun. Like me, why question mark? That sort of thing, so that people will be curious to click
Oh,
on it.
right.
That
So
will get
so
me
make the
curious.
thumbnail a little bit more interesting.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
Yep. Um, okay. So
I do have a
what's
bonus
it?
one if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with it. Let's hear it.
And that one's pretty tricky. It's basically the unsubscribe link. Does it has an unsubscribe link?
Man, I'm so happy you said that. I was sitting here like, gosh, I had another one and I blanked. That unsubscribe link. And I'm gonna when I see an unsubscribe link, I know it's cold. I know it's
Yeah,
cold outreach and it dings, right? Like you want to reply less when there's an unsubscribe.
yeah, that's
I know I
crazy.
do.
Because,
Right.
it's like, do I go the legal road or do I get replies? Ooh, I'm not
Hmm.
sure anymore. You make your own decision, guys, but the sort of like flip side in the middle is to have it as unsubscribe in the header. Then it's kind of
Love that.
display at the top, but it still give it away. So
Hmm.
it's tricky.
I mean, while we're on it, have you heard of any honest cold emailer getting thrown behind bars or having to pay some crazy? I remember when GDPR first rolled out, they were like, "It's going to be 100,000 per email infraction." Remember that? Like, has anyone
I
paid a
do.
dime?
So
Right.
yes, but it's big companies like British Airways or stuff like that. I think that's the main goal. But I must say that it was a couple of months ago. One prospect replied, including every provider that was used by the client, meaning AWS,
Oh God.
and quick mail abuse. So there was like abuse at quickmail.io, abuse at AWS, abuse at everything like they had, and then I'm like, oh wow, that's fine. Someone disgruntled. So the first thing I
Yeah.
do usually is obviously ban them from QuickMail leads, so
Nice.
that
There you
way
go.
it won't happen with someone else from QuickMail at least.
Nice.
And
Mm.
then, but the funny thing is like the client or QuickMail client who reached out to this customer, he replied back like saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We go through a rigorous process of actually, making sure there is a good intent for it. We're using this. We like he went through all the
Uh-huh.
rules." And the guy said, "I don't care, you're a spammer." So, and there was like this back and forth, like 5, 6 emails. And it's like, fine, whatever, guys. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day, I don't know. It went nowhere, but it's like
it
more
went
scare than
nowhere.
anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is, personally, I'm not reading headlines saying another cold emailer got,
Go to
thrown
jail.
behind bars today. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's come back to, right list, right message, right time. You do that well, and I think you got to take the lumps when they come in if they're far and few between. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those
So
grouches.
I think the funny thing is like I think this episode also shown that the floor has been raised a little bit. Like you could get away with a lot of those things in the past, and now you have
Yeah,
to be perfect, at least on the setup. So have a proper name,
correct.
have a proper picture, your signature not too big, having
Shorter
a
message.
either a flattery that is landing, as in you are effectively, a listener of the show and you can reference
Yeah,
to thing and then
genuine.
say it like the guy that was saying like, hey, I really enjoyed your longer podcast. It's like, okay, you
Hmm.
must have listened to those older podcasts in order to figure it
Yeah,
out. Or put it in a PS where it's like it's not so important and you can get to talk to about something else without having to do the awkward transition.
brilliant. No,
Did
there's
I
a lot
miss
of
something?
takeaways here.
Hmm?
Um, Call to action.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you're not like putting too much work on the plate of your recipient, because I think we default to inaction when our minds are confused or when
Yeah.
we perceive a difficult task, especially, imagine it's towards the end of the day or after that hour and a half mid-morning meeting. We just don't have a lot of bandwidth to take care of lower urgency related tasks.
You
So
got one
keep that in
second.
mind. You got a second. Cool. And we're just under the 10-minute mark. Let's
Woo!
close while we're ahead. Jacket sales rep Jeremy, a quick mail. You know where to go from here.
That right. That right. All right. Thanks, Jack. And I talk to
Cool.
you next time.
Perfect. Later, Jeremy.